I just want to celebrate with you that you're doing so much work. And really take that in for a second. Let's just look at you do a bunch of work, and there's a lot of people on this planet that are not doing that work. You're voluntarily moving with the universe. Like, to be here is you moving with what you're forced to move with. And a lot of people are having to get dragged into their transformation. There's a lot of people that are like not wanting to look at their stuff, not wanting to call out anything, not wanting to heal anything, because they really are identified with those trauma patterns. So the universe will force them into that. And a lot of times they'll still resist, and they'll still get more addicted and more small. And if you're here, you are gradually moving in alignment with the truth of what you are. And you have to know how needed that is and how rare that is. And I'm just here celebrating with you that we get to know about this, that we get to understand that we're here doing the work voluntarily. So, there's two ways into your transformation. You participate with the universe, or you're dragged into it. And the factor really depends on the more understanding of what you are. In other words, the people that are dragged into it think that what they are is the collection of trauma or their parents' kid or whatever else. So in this moment, you are here moving with the universe. And I just want to celebrate with you that I think what we're doing is truly the most important thing we could be doing. It's bigger than I gotta, whatever, I don't know, get a new bedspread. That's not a big one. Or achieve this giant thing or whatever. It's like you as the small self being an achiever, not as amazing as you finding out what you are and then letting it do what it wants to through you, right? Letting it do what it wants to do through you. There's so much doing that gets done that doesn't have to be the ego that's doing, right? You are in the doing right now by just learning more about what you are, exploring what you are voluntarily through the breath work, through Kim Duramo's work, through Aaron Abke, through the content that we're all exploring right now. Finding out as much as you can each day what you truly are is the most profound and important thing you can do. Really take that in. So I just say that to remind you, for all the people that go, I do this work, when am I done doing it? And when am I finally there? No. Let's celebrate that you're progressing at all. Like, really take a minute and celebrate that you get to be on this planet and understand there's more to what you are trying to unfold. And it's not about what you can achieve out of fear, all of these things. You're here participating with it. So you'll always unfold the rest of your life. It's going to always get better, even at times where it feels worse. It's always going to get better, even at times when it feels worse. It's all you learning more and more about what you are. That's my number one intention in my life over everything else. And sometimes my intention could be to access a new relationship or make a new career move or whatever else, as long as it's something that will move me more towards the truth of what I am. So you can still say, what will I do? But the real answer is it something that moves me closer to what I am? Or is it like I'm in fourth grade and I'm finding a first grade thing? It's not something moving me towards myself. It's something that's moving me away from it. So we're here in this incredible expansive time. And boy, is what we're moving towards incredible, magical, miraculous. And when we say, we're letting go of certain certainties that we've had in the third density world, the certainty of you're seen by this person, the certainty that you have this thing, the certainty that you have this bank account. What we're trading are the certainties of those things for an adventurous, magical, miraculous world. Because I have seen so many miracles in my life, and I know that I'm just starting. Like, can you take in the idea that you're just scratching the surface at this. I mean, even with all that I know I'm just scratching the surface. I know I'm just starting. Even though I've been doing it quite a bit of my life, can you be with the idea, we're just starting. You're just at 1/1,000,000th of what you truly are. And we're doing this work with Kim and we go, I want 2%. Hell yeah, 2% better. Well, imagine if you did that in a couple months again. Imagine if something happens that does 2% more. You can see how much change would happen within a year if you just continually move forward and allow what's happening to happen and allow other people to be who they are, allow opinions, allow your bank account, allow the feelings, just by asking, what's here? What's here? And you'll notice that there's no fix with what's here. There's no what you have to do with what's here, because it's being done by the real all that is you, not the small you that you're not. It's being done. The real aspect of what you are is able to do everything that your ego was trying to do, but you have to let it happen. And one of the things that happens when you let it happen is life also becomes a lot of surprises. In other words, when you are trying to make something happen, to get someone to respond a certain way, to get to some outcome, to get to a certain bank account, from the ego, the best that can happen is you temporarily get to experience that thing that you were trying to get. But usually if the ego wants to get it, it must fall away because your ego can't sustain the thing that it wants. Really take that in. The thing that the ego wants, it can't sustain. In other words, if you're someone who makes 20,000 and the ego goes, I'm going to make it move up to 1,000,000, you're still believing you're someone that's worth 20,000. So when you finally get the 1,000,000, you're going to sabotage it because the ego wants to get it because that will make you something. But then when you get it, you start to realize you're not more something. It's now something that you've just achieved that you think is bigger than what you are. So you actually have to sabotage it. But if you instead go, what does the universe have for me? And you keep that an open-ended question, and you don't sit there and go, I got to find out the specifics. You just start to live in a world of surprises. You start to be open to the idea that I didn't even think I could have a connection like this, a friendship, a relationship, this type of abundance. And you're in this big open-hearted energy where you're not going, it has to be this. You open your heart up, and so many magical things match your open heart. And you're just blindsided where you're almost in this world that Michael Beckwith described as, you ever have it where you have an inkling that there's someone's throwing a surprise for you, or there might be presents for you somewhere, and you're going, is it in this room? Is it in this room? Where is it? Is it over here? That's life. That's how we're living life. Like, what is trying to unfold here? What is trying to come into my life? And you start to be open to everything is on purpose. And you're not in your single-minded zone where one thing will be the answer to your life. What's trying to happen is bigger than what you want, right? But we have to start by surrendering the egoic idea that that will finally make you something, and get in connection with the truth that what you are, what you actually are, is so much more profound than anything you want to achieve. And boy, will life mirror your awareness of what you are. There's what you are, which is infinite. And then there's what your conscious awareness is of what you are, which is usually much smaller, right? And so there's your conscious awareness, and then you also deciding to align with it. So think about this. There's what you truly are, but then you might be fighting for the small you, right? This contracted you that has to be seen by someone else, or is so mad that you didn't get the thing that you egoically wanted. And so then you don't have an awareness of what you are. There's also an intellectual understanding of what you are. In other words, you could be hearing this, me talking about the all that isness, and you'd be like, yeah, I understand that, but, and then you defend the lie of the smallness, right? So we got to get you to not only understand what you are, but live in alignment at the best you can with what you are, right? What you are is this all that isness. And this is why meditation is so important. This is why you taking time and being okay with nothing happening is so important too. Because when you start to do that, you're merging with all that is. You become so receptive to all that is. Then when something miraculous happens, it's not exciting, it's normal. That's what we want. We want to get to a place where it's not, holy crap, I can't believe that came into my life. It's like, of course. That makes it sustainable. When it's not like, I can't believe it. Sometimes you'll get something you can't believe, and then you got to almost acclimate up to it. Like, I got to get connected to the me that just received what just showed up in my life. I can't believe it. I've been saying that for the last couple of weeks. I'm like, I can't believe this. Someone really magical has shown up in my life. And it's not like even the story of me to be able to receive it. So aspects of a false me have been falling apart for me to match the okayness and earning and everything else of what's showing up in my life. Right? So when you start to connect to all that is, you start to go, yeah, it's normal that miracles are happening. Right? It's normal because you are a miracle. What the hell is this? You are a miracle. What is this? Do you get that you're a miracle? Like, we've actually forgotten that something happened and we came from the stars and came through these people and are this unfolding thing that seems to know how to do all of it. What in the hell? Right? Like, what is this? Do you understand how miraculous you are, so that you're not even going, something happening is a miracle? No, I'm a miracle, right? Can you be with that idea? I'm a miracle, right? What am I? Can you just be with this? Oh my God, like, I'm not the small body. I'm able to channel. Like, you're able to channel. You're able to connect. You have intuition. You have moments where you know someone's going to be there, or you know you're going to get a call, or you know, you think of the person, they show up, or you're able to create in levels. When you create anything, everything that's ever existed on our planet was once an idea. What the hell is that? Like, an idea shows up and then it comes through. Like, this event was an idea. This event just showed up through Coloing. Was it a Coloing meeting? A Coloing meeting. My team and I sit and we do these Collegos where we literally spend an hour a day. Sometimes we take time off, but overall, mostly we do an hour a day. And we start Coloing. And we start in Coloing from our hearts, right? And we could be Coloing something that was created. Like, we'll just be like, I remember when we did a magical 3-day event, like God's Kid. Then we just execute it. It just showed up from the ethers. That's miraculous. And then it's coming through here, but I picked it up from somewhere else. So I must be a miracle, and so are you. And your job is to start with the idea that you're a miracle. I can't believe it. We're like Coloing, and all of a sudden this thing comes through. Now we're spending the whole weekend, and who knew, like, what was coming through was Mike H's revelation and Rachel W's revelation. And who was the first one? Daniela. I was like, Daniela, right? Like, yeah, everything. All of these things all came through. The AEP annual pass, God's Kid, the big one, exactly, Lindsay. All came through that, making a short almost every single day. What are we at? Like 300 shorts, probably 300 shorts. Some of them went totally viral. We put one short out. What's that one? The abandonment one that has the clip of the, there's one that we put out and it's in the multi-millions of views. And then other people were taking it and reposting it in different languages. And that came in a moment of inspiration of something miraculous here. And the reason it did was because I wasn't closed off to an egoic goal. Do you get what I'm saying? Think of how small your egoic goal is compared to what's floating around you right now. Do you feel that? What's here right now? This is big because something's here. Ideas are here, but you got to start to get present and get receptive to what's here and not just think, when I finally get that person to understand me, then I'm free. When I finally make that money, when I finally, no. Because always, always, always in the moment, God is trying to tell you the next thing, right? And so here we are, we're Coloing and this stuff comes through. The big one is created. Also, you can Colego your feelings. You can even sit there. We will say something. One of the teammates will be like, I remember being okay with that. I'm making this leap. And you'll start to see tears come through. It's almost like the ethers also has a healing mechanism for you. In other words, the now is trying to heal you. Take that in. Your connection to the now can heal you. You go, okay, you'll just notice that what you're doing when you connect to the now is you're connecting to a portal that gets bigger and bigger. And the bigger the portal gets, the more it purges what you're not, right? The more it goes, you've just created a hole that's so freaking big right now that I'm going to release and let go of your small story that's feeling a bunch of trauma. So when you think nothing's happening when you're meditating, no. What's happening when you're meditating is you're starting to connect to the ethers. And when you think nothing's happening, you're looking from the small mind, right? So you're connecting to the ethers. The small mind goes, nothing's happening, because the ego needs to do everything it can to stop you from doing this, right? And so if you go to the ethers, at one point, you're finally so here, so connected, you'll just be blindsided by tears. And it'll usually come from a place of gratitude. It's almost like through your acceptance and celebration, it now goes, you have now graduated, and the you that has all this trauma from those issues can leave. I will be so connected, and then I'll just think of Vivi and start crying. I noticed that Vivi, who's 6 now, represents my new life. She's amazing at representing my new life. So instead of me just going, I miss my mom, I celebrate my new life. And the more I'm in that joy, it purges out who I was before Vivi was in my life. So through my celebration of this new life and my celebration of the ethers of all that I am, the old story is purged, right? And more of what you're not can go through your gratitude for what's here now. This is how it goes. You can't, the ego tries to stay the old story and overcome itself, but you're still in the frequency of the old story, so it can't. So no matter how big the issues are in your life, if you start to connect to the all that is, if you start to connect to the ethers and don't go, it's not working, you just keep going, you keep listening, you keep going. And you start to practice being here so much more. And you start to really be with what is in the now, not what will be. Not because that's an argument with the now. Trust me, there is enough in the now to connect to. There's nothing bigger in the future. When you start to connect to the insane fullness of what is, eventually it goes, okay, this part of your small self is no longer needed. In fact, it's in the way of this, and you have now proven that you are identified with the all that is much more than the small self. So we let that go. Meadow Rose says, what if you're really annoyed in the now? Then that is an experience that the ego is creating for you. It wants you to become the all that is and the presence for the energy that's annoyed. Because what's annoyed? Some control mechanism that says life isn't going how I've decided it's supposed to go. That's the essence of the ego. I have a decision on how life is supposed to go, and it's always never how it is going. I'm going to argue with anything. Have you ever had someone in your life that complains about something and you give them a solution and then they complain about that too? Like, it's almost like, I just want to be mad always. It's like, here's the solution. I don't want, like, someone will be like, no one sees me. And then you're sitting there with them. I see you. And they don't want that either. It's like the ego goes, no, don't solve my problem. The ego goes, no, I just literally have to stay in an argument with what is. Right? I'm so annoyed. They'll be like, nobody helps me with anything. And then you're like, can I help you with this? And like, no, that also sucks. Always suck to the ego. Anything that is an argument for the ego. The ego is so annoyed about what is. It is just so annoyed. And it goes, I'm mad that it's not going how I've decided it should go. And you are suffering when you decide how it should go. Because it's going how it's going. Do you accept it or do you fight it? It's going miraculously. It's going magically. And what you're seeing is me being with what is. And when someone comes on the call or when I answer, it's whatever is happening is right. Right. And then weirdly, in that time, you can fill 2.5 days of content because you're just saying what's here. I couldn't do all this content if I planned it. I'm just connecting to what's here right now. And it turns out if you're in the now, you have an infinite amount of content, an infinite amount of healing, an infinite amount of ideas, an infinite amount of next steps, an infinite amount of solutions to everything that you perceive as wrong if you get here. But you have to really practice connecting to here. Not go, what do I do about later? No. You practice right now connecting to here. You are the ethers. These ideas are you talking to you, right? All that is you talking to you, right? You are not the small self. This is why a leap is such a big deal, or a yes when you need a yes is such a big deal, despite what people will say, or despite what could go wrong, or a no, meaning no more going to prison, no more keeping my small self alive. No more. That's a yes, right? I'm going to not go to the same pattern anymore. I'm going to break the whole thing. Now, if you've made a leap recently, you got to start really connecting to the ethers so that you can be with everything's truly okay and your acceptance of all that is. In other words, when you leap, life goes, now you have to really become what you are to accept the leap that you made. Because the you that leapt died. And when you went to the higher frequency, you now have to become the higher frequency to match your okayness with your leap. Right? So the ego goes, okay, I'm going to leap. Okay. Then it leaps. And then think of it as a snake shedding its skin. All the new snake is here and the shed skin is down here. You don't need this anymore. So when you leap, you also leave your old skin, your old story, your old way of seeing things. And just because it's familiar, that doesn't mean it's the truth. Like when you leap, you'll go, I used to be friends with that person and now I'm not. When you leap, you go, that person became different. When you leap, you go, I don't know what I'm doing financially. And in my old story, I did know what I was doing financially. Yeah, but you're accessing a place of miracles that probably has better financial stuff for you, but also at the same time, you're going to spend it less because you're feeling so fulfilled. You don't need the egoic, you don't need to drink as much. You don't need to watch TV all day. You're finding your fulfillment in yourself. And let's talk about that. Finding the fulfillment in yourself. First of all, one of the most profitable things you can do. In other words, if your favorite place is you just sitting at one point, or you being in nature, or you not distracting yourself, now what's going on? That feels better than any addictive thing that not only costs money, but is hurting your body and moving you to a lower frequency. Imagine if your default favorite place was something that's expanding you more and more, freeing you and moving you into a frequency where you're in a total place of joy. I notice for me more and more that trying to do certain things that used to be my favorite things to do is more contracting, that just being and just hearing and just sitting or just kind of gently cleaning a little bit each day is more fulfilling to me than going to the movies and letting a giant screen distract me, or even like going bowling, which used to be my favorite thing. I took Vivi the other day. We had so much fun, but at the same time, I just noticed, man, I don't bowl anymore. I don't need, like it used to, I lettered in it to make sure women wouldn't like me. It was a way to guarantee it by lettering and bowling and band. It was just like, I think my extra large puffy Letterman jacket with those two letters will make sure that, it helps steer away anyone from being attracted to me. Anyway, so I've noticed that I used to bowl as like an identity almost. I would go almost every weekend. and I would love it. I used to sit with my mom and watch pro bowling at 3 p.m. on Saturdays on ABC, hosted by Chris Schenkel. I guarantee most of you don't know who that is. But my point is, that was me. That was an association to love. That was, I'm connecting. That was, and now I'm like, it's a contracting. I'm now not that person anymore. Deidre knows who Chris Schenkel is. And it's a contracting now to do those things. Why is that? Because that's not me anymore. I find to sit in a hammock and look at the stars is more fulfilling. To just sit and look into someone's eyes and feel love is more fulfilling to me than doing something. So all of a sudden I have much less expenses, right? That's what's happening, is I have less expenses. Like, you're literally needing less money when you're finally connected to the real you. Yet, in the time of being, you're connecting to the ethers that'll give you ideas, next steps, confidence, and worthiness to receive much more money. And when people are like, I'd love to, but I got to make money, it's like, you're doing it backwards. And we're in a consciousness now where your connection to the ethers is going to be more valuable than you making a bunch of money out of a do vibration, right? That you cannot do it. And that's why so many companies and businesses are falling apart. That's why it's all not working anymore, because it's like it's built on the third density world. And so when you get to a place where you suddenly are freer and you literally have less and less expenses because your joy is here, and in that joy, you're sitting here coming up with, why don't we have God's kid for the weekend? Or why don't we have, the big one? Why don't we create from here? You start to become also so rare. When you do the inner work, there's like 20 of us on the planet, right? That are really going inward. And all of a sudden, even though I don't even believe in competition, the rest of the world who's at a much lower frequency, right, isn't necessarily moving with you. So you suddenly become valuable. There's only one of you. And when you access the real you really experience the one of you, and you make yourself what Bob Proctor says makes you worth the most. You become not replaceable. You can't replace you when you're connected to the ethers. And when Bob Proctor said that, I realized that he said, your value is based on how replaceable you are. And I realized for me, it's going to be pretty hard to match 20 years of stand-up comedy with the inner work and the meditations that I did. And I'm not saying anyone else can't do that. I'm just saying I'm making it so there's only one Kyle Cease, right? And you can do that for you. But what most people do is they try to make themselves easily replaceable by being what everyone else is. They're literally like, I want to be a Kardashian, or I want to be what that person did, or I'm trying to be like my sibling, or I want to be like someone else. And you're literally working on not being the true aspect of you that is completely not replaceable. And instead, you're working on being what already exists. And we already have that. Do not be what someone else is, right? Don't become what someone else is. Don't want to be. Stop comparing. I'll hear people on AEP going, I want to have a shift like that person had. Why? You're different. You have different wiring. You have different everything. Don't want what anyone else has. Want what God has for you. And then you will have your own journey, and it'll be between you and God, and you're going to unfold so beautifully. And then what happens is you start to become irreplaceable. And we could have a world where we have 8 billion people that are irreplaceable. But most people at the moment want to be each other. Now, I want you to picture if you looked up in the sky and you saw the stars and you realized tons of the stars want to be like the other stars, because like 2% of the stars are like famous stars. They're like the Kim Kardashian stars. And then the other stars are wanting to be like them. And they have a TMZ star that's shown, like, it's like they're all unique in their own thing, right? And you don't need to become like anyone else. You are here to truly become the truest essence of what you are. And if you do, you become not replaceable. And if you would own that's what you want, and you would own that you want to know what you are, and you choose it and you say yes to it, you will be worth a ton of money. And I only address the money thing because the amount of people that only move based on they need to see the money are stopping themselves from their expansion. and ironically, a ton of money, right? Like they're stopping themselves from a ton of money by doing something like staying in something and cutting themselves off from the ethers that want to connect you to the infinite thing that you are and give you way more value. You know, you can tell like someone like Byron Katie or Aaron Abke or, you know, Kim or me are working on that. I want to know the highest version of myself, right? And or Lori Ladd or and many of them, right? They're becoming the truest version of themselves. And when you do that, there's like very little of them that are doing the unique thing that they are. And that's valuable. Like, I'm valuable. You're valuable too. Join me in finding the truest value of yourself, which starts by allowing yourself to go into the unknown. Move into the unknown. You're a miracle. I want you to connect to the all that isness for a second. Take a deep breath in and release it. And know that your miracle doesn't only have to be that you become a speaker. It's like there's a thing trying to unfold for you that's your unique thing. And your only job, as corny and Mr. Roger Z as this is to only become the truest version of you. And then the next day, you're going to have a truer version of you show up. And then the next day. And when life feels off, you get to know, oh, you're about to purge another aspect of a false you. That's all life off feels. It is. When you're feeling off, it's like, oh, there's a false story in me that's about to purge. Like a story of comfort. And I know what I was a while ago that's leaving. We want to not know what we are. Someone this morning was saying to me, it's like, I don't know who anyone is. There was a revelation. Someone said that they don't know, they realize they don't know anyone. And there was a celebration in the idea of what if we accept that you don't know anyone? And what if you accept that you don't know yourself? Your goal is to know yourself, but to really know yourself, start with the idea that if you've been moving mainly from the egoic construct, you don't know yourself, right? The idea of I don't know who, when people say, I don't know who I am if I leap. No, you've never known who you truly were, right? It's like if you wore a sumo jacket and then you're wearing this giant padded thing and you're sitting there going, this is really me. I'm like, no, you don't know what you are. You've just had that on your whole life because your parents wore a sumo jacket. And I'm like, can we take that off? Because there's like a much healthier, much freer body under it. And there's a much truer you under it. But you're like, no, I don't know who I am without this. No, you don't know who you are with it. You don't know who you are going to the prison. Know that we don't know who you are, but we can move closer and closer to some kind of knowing that the mind will never get. You got to know who you are through a knowing that isn't a measurable egoic construct. In other words, can you know who you are without having any words for it? Right? The mind goes, I need to know what I am. Oh, here's the specific answer. The soul goes, I know what I am. And it doesn't have an answer. It doesn't have a here's what I am story. It just goes, I know what I am right now. I can't explain it because it would be my mind explaining to your mind what I am. We don't need to do that. Can you know what you are without any words? Right? Can you join me in the knowing of all that's here without having like an answer? Oh, my purpose is I'm this, or I'm this much money, or no answer. Just join me in the knowing of what you are for a second. Just connect to the all that isness for a second and know what you are. And if your mind knows what you are, that's wrong, right? The mind has a concept of what you are, and that concept can fall apart and you'll still be here, right? If the mind says, oh, I'm this career, but you could leave this career and still be here, you're wrong. You're not that. You can have that for a while, but that's not who you are. And our fall apart in the world right now is the fall apart of what people thought they were, but truly aren't. The world is falling apart because everyone is losing what they thought they were. They thought they were this relationship. They thought they were that income. They thought they were that career. They thought they were that fix. They thought they were the one that holds everyone else up. And they're falling apart. And some people are suicidal because of that. But all that's happening is the fall apart of the false you. And that's moving you closer to the truth of what you are. I dare you to not know what you are with a mental construct. Take a deep breath in, release it, and connect to that knowing of what you are. Even if there's a bunch of chaos and fear and denial and anger or whatever else, connect to the ethers for a second, to the truth of what you are in this moment right now. What are you? Not with an answer. Not with an answer. Did you catch that? What are you? Can you feel what you are? Feel some knowing that has no beginning and no end. Can you feel the permanent that has no beginning, that never started and never ends? The whole thing that you can't define or shrink down, connect to all that is. I want you to feel that for a second. Now, that knowing you can know, but you can't explain it. Join me in the knowing of what you are. That is not something you can grab onto. It's not a concept you grab onto. It's just a feeling. Yes, explaining it puts it in a prison. So you just kind of feel whatever that's here, your heart beating, the space that's all around. Yes, light. Just connect to that knowing. And like just listen for it. Just listen or feel some energy that is the basis of all of this. It's like the blank piece of paper that's here that we can color on and we can paint on or whatever, but connect to the blank slate that's always here, the blank piece of paper that never began. Mind will never get that. Mind cannot handle there was no beginning and there is no end. So we leave the mind for a second because the mind cannot grab, make sense, or anything.